Thank you to Alliance Atlantis Communications, Inc. and RBC Financial Group for sponsoring today's Students' Tables. And now I'd like to turn on the Liberated Learning software as I introduce today's special guest. Testing. Okay, if the audience starts laughing, I know that it's not picking up what I'm saying. Our speaker today is President and CEO of a Canadian-based global telecommunications innovator and leader, Nortel. Few industries have gone through such exciting times and challenging times as the telecommunications industry has over the past number of years. Just walk into any consumer electronics store or watch a group of teenagers using pagers and cell phones in ways that many of us can barely understand. And you have evidence of the unrelenting revolution in telecommunications. Consumer trends are changing and evolving constantly. Technologies are keeping pace with those trends and driving them, pushing communications products and services that had been hot and new into early obsolescence. And competition is complex and ever-changing in this converging telecommunications world. Who would have ever predicted as recently as 5 years ago that Apple would become one of the largest music distribution companies in the world? Telecommunications is an industry in which the convergence of content and media is resulting in remarkable innovations that are making people's lives easier. Already, consumers can make home videos with their mobile telephones, watch TV shows on their laptop computers, and surf the internet on their television sets. Today we will learn how Nortel is competing to win in this business environment, with passion, with a focus on delivering results, and with the highest standards of ethics. I'm looking forward to hearing from Mike Zafirovski to gain fresh insights into the world of telecommunications and to learn about strategies and approaches that can be applied to any industry or sector. A bit of background on Mike Zafirovski. Before joining Nortel in November 2005, he was a senior executive at Motorola. He also worked for 25 years at General Electric, 13 of which he spent as president and CEO of 5 separate businesses in the industrial, financial services, and insurance sectors. So by his early 30s, Mike Zafirovski was already a president and CEO within one of the world's most respected corporations. He holds a BA in mathematics from Edinburgh University in Pennsylvania, where he was captain of the intercollegiate soccer and swimming teams. His alma mater also awarded him an honorary doctorate in 2002. A native of Macedonia, Mike and his wife Robin have 3 sons, and Robin and Mike serve as the national chairs of Duke University's Parents Committee. Mike Zafirovski will be speaking to us today about how the passionate, relentless pursuit of superior results and doing the right thing are central to the leadership philosophy that Nortel is using to transform its business and to thrive in its markets. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the President and CEO of Nortel, Mr. Mike Zafirovski.
Good afternoon. I'm just watching to make sure that the inspired technology is not trying to follow my speech. But thank you for being here this afternoon. Great to see customers, partners, a board member, as well as certainly the expectations coming in here this morning have just risen a few notches of a few degrees, but it's a real pleasure to be here this afternoon. Noel, thank you for that very kind introduction, and thanks to the Liberated Learning for a very inspired application of technology. You've asked me to speak about global leadership. I've looked at quotes and thought maybe we can try to use 2 examples of quotes and you can determine which one of those proved to be correct and incorrect. It will not be a hard quiz, I promise. The first one is from 1977. A CEO of a very advanced technology company asked a question, why? He said there's no reason for anyone to have a computer in their home. Of course, was Ken Olsen from Digital, and so sometimes it's a wrong strategy along with a wrong execution can prove to be very, very poor results for that company. Next one is from a sports figure. This is from a Canadian hockey player to say, move where the puck will be. Don't wait for it. And obviously, combination of great strategy, skills, and also living to that very simple goals. He was able to excite fans from all over the world. And I love and admire leadership. And ever since school, I have followed leadership on a political, military, historical figures, and of course, sports and business. My two favorite topics today. So I've studied over the years. I've been very fortunate in my professional experiences to have been able to have quite a few good experiences. So I'll try in the next 20 minutes or so to provide a perspective on leadership, some of my philosophies on it, to discuss briefly the status of Nortel. Promise this will not be an operating or a strategic review, but to describe briefly where we see Nortel today and how we see the future, and also a few comments on the industry, the trends which we see in the industry, and why we think that is so positive for the Nortel's current assets. I'm also going to make a couple of comments on Canada's commitment to innovation and education, including Learn It, which I think is a very, very powerful tool that we will be using much more proactively on a going forward basis. But before Nortel, I worked for two other great companies, General Electric and Motorola. GE, as you may not know, was actually started by Thomas Edison, a person that had, to his name, more than 1,000 patents. But what GE is best known, and I fully agree with that, is the company is always prepared to make significant investments in people. There's a reputation for growing terrific leaders. I've worked alongside some of the best leaders of our time, directly for Jack Welch, Larry Bossidy, Jim McNerney, Dave Calhoun. Learned quite a few things from them. But the most important takeaway from my 25 years at General Electric was simply that how teamwork, alignment, and high expectations from both results and leadership values can produce extraordinary results from rather ordinary people in rather ordinary industries all over the world. Also the privilege for being 5 years at Motorola, again another great innovation company. I learned there the value of innovation and the recommitment to quality. Motorola used to have it at one point in time, they forgot it. And again, if you forget some of the basics which drives the business forward, the results will quickly follow. Also a value of commitment to people and to ethics in both the best of times and also in times that are not as good. And the power of momentum in a business when it's recovering from a downturn. And but the most significant learning from my time at Nortel is really was managing a crisis and a turnaround. I joined Motorola in June of 2000. It was right at the height of the telecom boom. Within 2 months afterwards, the floor gave out. This is so we could do a massive downsizing actions, which we never thought we had to do, and really challenged most of the principles. On one hand, the commitment to people, to environment, and what I like to, to people, and to really test it, or the principles which I believed coming into 2000 are appropriate. And your question may be, well, what are those principles that you had coming to Motorola? And preparing for this session I was going to simply highlight the 6 principles which I've tried to follow now for almost exactly 20 years. It was back in September 1986, unexpectedly you get a phone call, and you're given the responsibility, the privilege to actually lead a business, not a big business, but probably the president and CEO of a business within General Electric. And there was a town hall meeting, probably the size of this room, 500 or 600 people. They were expecting to hear from the new president. What are you all about? So I worked very diligently what I believed in business, and what commitments I can make to that group. We have proviso up front. If I ever deviate from those commitments, call me, write me an email. I guess there's no email then, but write me a letter, remind me. And the really perspective was to drive the company forward. And the 6 principles, which I've outlined, and this is nothing profound here. If you want to lose weight, and you exercise more, and you eat less, your business, I believe it's very similar. And those 6 things which I wrote back in September of 1986 were, number 1, to delight customers. The commitment was to spend at least half my time with customers and the people serving the customers with the sales force. Second, which I thought was very important, is to provide for a very motivating and challenging environment People really believe they can reach all their aspirations. Number 3, to deliver superior financial results. It's a litmus test if you're a successful business or not. I have a firm belief if you do a great job in number 1 and number 2, 3 should be a natural outcome. 4, to give back to communities. I think all successful companies have an obligation to give to the communities. At the same time, makes you a magnet for employees, to people who want to come and work for your company. 5, to compete. I love to compete. If you put all the efforts behind competition, you may as well expect to win. If you don't win, succeed the first time, try again, try again. At the end, you may have to pick a different sport, different game, different business. I think there was an expectation to provide to those employees back 20 years ago. And last, and I would argue most important, is to demonstrate the leadership values within that company. It's very important for people, not only the top person, but for general management of the organization, for all the managers to really embody the leadership values which are communicated as being important to that organization. I can walk you through the leadership values of General Electric. Those 4 E's. Personal energy, ability to energize others, edge, the courage to make the tough calls promptly and execute. At Motorola, they're somewhat different. Motorola is using best practices, including things from General Electric. They have 4 E's plus always 1 E. They changed the personal energy to envision, which I thought is very appropriate. If you're a high-tech company, you need to see what's around the corner. And also they added always 1 E, which is always with ethics. So back in 2000, when we were somewhat criticized with the challenges that Motorola was having, why was it possible, why was it important for us to have ethics as being as important as the other 4? And I think it's very relevant to, if you reflect back on the last 5 or 6 years, very much was the right decision to make. So the first thing which we actually did at Nortel, the first staff meeting, we looked at the employee satisfaction surveys, we looked at our performance, we said, look, we need to raise the bar of how we perform as a management team. Make a commitment to our customers, to our suppliers, to the board, but most importantly to the employees, that this is what we're going to represent. And again, if we're not behaving that way, will be consequences. And most of the time looking for the positive consequences. So promotions, rewards are based on people living up to those values. And we came up with 6 of them. The first one is that for every Nortel leader to chart a winning course. Whatever your job is, and you explain to your employees the winning strategy which you have for that group. Number 2, to be decisive. Number 3, to inspire your employees. Number 4, to meet commitments. Number 5, to live the Nortel values. Exude and command integrity is number 1 in the Nortel values. And to act as one. You cannot have fiefdoms, you cannot have silos. Nortel always comes at the top of their list. The tagline for those 6 values is to have a passionate, relentless pursuit of superior results and doing the right thing. And if you look at what our performance the last number of years, obviously we have work to do on many of those, but there's the commitment, there's the passion, and I would urge you, for you as you speak with people that may be working at Nortel, including people that are here this afternoon, that we're really changing the company starting with the leadership values. And it is number 1, to be able to increase the confidence of the employees, both the management team, but also in their belief that they will be able to succeed based on a pretty much described leadership values once we will have a full support of the organization. So the follow-up question may be, well, why Nortel? Why did you make this decision almost a year ago this time? And I had a number of opportunities. The thing that excites me most about Nortel is the opportunity to take a company, having a great company, iconic in many cases, to take the best of that company and to quickly address the issues facing it. So I did not come here naive. I'm very much aware of the challenges facing us, including, some people may argue, there's a perfect storm that was facing Nortel over the last number of years. On one hand was the downturn of the industry, also the class actions, the restatements, the financial performance, and a cost structure still not competitive despite a very significant downsizing. And also some of the processes, which again, anytime you downsize it significantly, as Nortel had to do, some of the processes would suffer. So this was the challenge facing the company, but also a company with absolutely terrific assets. I'll start with number one, and more than a century history of innovation. Many of the first in communications, the digital world, the optical world, actually came out of Nortel. Also a listing of customers that's second to none. Customers that really want Nortel to be successful. Now I would say coupled with that is the commitment in the DNA of the company that knows how to partner with customers. And sometimes you have to teach people what's most important. That's within the DNA. We know how to both build complete new systems. At the same time, if there's a problem, our employees are not confused. They know serving the customer is always is number one. World-class intellectual property. We have 5,500 patents. With experience in building networks and applications both for enterprises and for carriers, and our people. 30,000 plus strong, and also 12,000 professional and seasoned R&D professionals. So again, this is a platform which I found to be very, very attractive. And the issues are not insignificant. I would argue that issues are much easier to fix, mostly internal, and the assets would be very, very hard to replicate. So in essence, that is a challenge which we have. To optimize the assets and very quickly attack the issues, and that's frankly what we're doing. The second reason for joining Nortel is this industry. Yes, it's not easy, but it's not easy because the best companies in the world want to be in this industry. The industry really changes how we operate, how we work, how we communicate, entertainment. So this, I would argue, is the most exciting industry in the world. And there are some real examples of how we, working with our customers, make a real difference in many communities. I'll take one example here, our work with Bell Canada to rejuvenate the Northern Ontario economy of Chapleau. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. And this is by providing state-of-the-art wireless and optical infrastructure that's attracted commerce, really positioning the town as a very desirable tourist destination. Also, we work closely with Natago and the Alberta Especially Areas Board to bridge the digital divide. We actually combine forces to provide affordable wireless broadband access both for consumers as well as for the businesses, and who previously did not have those capabilities. So this is some of the reasons for behind joining Nortel. You may be interested to order the planes for the company. And I can just say in no uncertain terms, we are committed with passion, resolve, and with confidence to recreate a great company. With a number of very specific short-term priorities under the umbrella of BIG. B stands for business transformation, improve our profitability and change our processes. I stands for integrity renewal. Very important from our recent history. We want to be a best practice. If a company ever gets in trouble, to look at what Nortel's board and management team really have done in this past 3 years. I really would challenge discussions with the SEC and the OSC to be very clear that the openness, the transparency, the cooperation, and the actions taken in the plans which we have ahead for us to really have this to become a best practice is well underway. And this is not a lip service, an annual report letter or speech in Toronto, but this is how we truly want to transform the company to be the most modern and contemporary in corporate governance, and to have a set of integrity policies that are both true, not only the letter, but also the spirit of those guidelines. And lastly, growth initiatives. I understand this is all about growth. We're making commitments of increasing our sales and marketing efforts to drive our enterprise business, investments in WiMAX, video, and so again, I will not make this an operational review. We're putting resources behind all three of those short-term activities, and I'm very, very confident results will start showing up well before 2006 is over. We also have a long-term plan for the company. I've said it's going to take a number of years to truly recreate a great company, and I'll only make a comment on the first one. We have a world-class leadership team and processes for people and for the work culture, and I'm thrilled with the team which we've put together. I believe it's a world-class team. With both promotions and people that have spent their whole careers with Nortel, been able to attract what I believe is a world-class individuals, people with a great values, and also a history of accomplishment. So this includes people from careers with Nortel, but also IBM, BC, GE, Motorola, RBC, Juniper, Broadcom. people really betting their careers and their reputations that the work that's being done at Nortel will in fact create a great new Nortel. Also doing quite a few things with employee engagement. And employee satisfaction is just as important for us as improving cash flow and operating margins. And Own It is a program to really have all 30,000 plus employees feel as owners of the company. So again, I can go on for a long time, but I can assure you there's lots of passion behind both short-term commitments and a long-term building of a company. And this industry is in a continual evolution. And we have a great new Chief Technology Officer. His name is John Rose. I mean, he's a CTO of a Fortune 500 company at age 26. Now he's an aged and seasoned 36 years old. But he talks about the eras that technologies go through, especially on connections and networking. And he describes the time from 1990 to 1995 as a time where there's the technology wars. What is the best way to connect? So at the end of that era, there's quite a few, if you will, winners or losers. The winners were, among others, Ethernet, packet networks, and IP. So those are decisions that were made. And for the next 5 years, from 1996 to 2000, we saw a great build-out of networks. More effective, more bigger, faster, cheaper. And for the last 5 or 6 years, from 2001 to 2006, we have seen the industry has been focused on making the infrastructure and applications more intelligence and starting to really see the opportunities in mobility and convergence. You know, many applications have been candidates among the most advanced countries in the world in terms of applications, but we really see a whole new era ahead of us. I'll just very quickly touch upon the 3 things which are developing. We're going to really accelerate over the next 5 or 6 years and try to summarize why we believe with many of the assets, the know-hows, and the passion to use this transformational in trends to restore Nortel to a place of prominence. Those 3 things is, number 1, to address the hyperconnectivity. I mean, increasingly we're seeing thousands of IP-enabled devices. BlackBerries, cell phones, laptops, IP-enabled smart buildings, and this list will keep increasing. Your home, your car, your gaming systems. So this list will continue to explode, and we're going to see more and more of a video applications driving it to a whole new era of capabilities from an application perspective, but also requirements from networks. And of course, this will require new security technologies, new quality technologies, new network discovery capabilities, and new transport capabilities as well. This is all going to have to work seamlessly across a huge ecosystem of devices and networks. The second major trend is reinventing applications. We made great progress in the last 10 years, but now with web services and SOA, systems-oriented architecture, we're moving from a world where the applications were developed for really one-size-fits-all, independent of the awareness of the communication systems around them or the specific requirements from the consumers or the businesses. And we really see this changing dramatically. One example is if you can just think how the web page today is really personalized to your business. You see all those applications being very similar to the expectations that consumers are going to have on a prospective basis. The last one is true broadband. I mean, going forward, people will not accept the fact that there is a difference between their mobile and their fixed devices, their home networks, or their business networks. They will demand a true broadband experience no matter where they are. There's some real positive trends right now in places like Korea and Japan. We think that this will be accelerating in the Western world very, very fast. And by the way, the developing world is not necessarily 10, 15 years behind. Some of the most innovative applications right now in places like Russia. That's a different time for a different presentation. So can I portray a picture now, as opposed to perfect storm, where Nortel was 4 or 5 years ago? Are the stars really aligning behind us with the trend which I briefly described? Do they play to our competencies and our capabilities? I'll just make a couple questions, and at least in the first 3, I'll give you in advance the answer is it's absolutely yes for us. And the 4th one, we have made great strides in the last 12 months. First, to win in the new era, do you need a leadership in the carrier and enterprise worlds? IT and telecom and converging? The answer is absolutely. Will play a very important role in both of those spaces. Second, a deep understanding of both applications and infrastructure. Again, very much plays to our strengths. The technologists in this room, they know that many innovations, which Nortel started on SIP basis, such an initiative protocol. Number three, leadership in both wireline and wireless technologies. They're converging. We have a good position in both of those. And the last one, ability to lead an ecosystem of this knowledge and the right partners and alliances. I said this is the one to do. But great progress, great changing in our perceptions, how we work with partners. A couple examples, the joint venture, which we signed with LG Electronics in December of last year. The Microsoft alliance, they're very innovative. As opposed to playing defense, we are moving forward. And partnerships with companies like IBM. Combined go-to-market resources, you can see many more of those in the coming months. And I really do believe the time is right now for us to assume the leadership position again. I'm going to wrap up with a couple comments on my perspective of technology leadership in Canada and a few comments on education. As I was going to the airport last Friday, I saw a great headline story. Blueprint for greatness. This is in the record. I did not see this newspaper before. Was a odd event, but I loved it. This is the Dr. David Johnson, the president of the University of Waterloo, is communicating his 10 steps. What it would take to have Northern Ontario to become the communications knowledge capital of Canada. And we have a long and rich history with the University of Waterloo. It was in a little low basis for the last couple of years. I was thrilled to go there a couple of months ago to give a chair for the wireless communications for next generation technology. So anyway, if you don't have a chance, you should read that. But as a new Canadian, the article struck a note with me, including a quote. This is the story of Canada. It is coming from a very little and making much of it. So you're thinking back on what Canada and companies have been able to do, starting with BNR, one of the most advanced, most accomplished technology labs in the world. Of course, Nortel. I made some of the comments on Bell Canada. But also you look at some of our customers and other companies. What TELUS is doing, for example, in wireless leadership, as well as some of their plans for IPTV. Rogers, from the pioneering the AC radio in 1925 to today's delivery of home phone voice over cable telephony. The revolution of personal communications that REM has been conducting. I'm so impressed with what they have been able to do. And again, this is individuals with passion and close association with great university being able to really change the way business is being conducted. So I can go on for a long time, but Canadian innovators have really a prominent role in the business world today. They're making our businesses more competitive. Government's much more effective. There's all of us like to complain about governments, but actually the Canadian government is by far the most e-centric in the world. And of course, driving technology to further improve education. I really see a good opportunity for businesses, governments, and universities to work together, even more than we've done to this point in time. I've traveled extensively with all three companies right now, but there's really best practices in countries like Korea, Singapore, and Finland. The cooperation between business and government and the universities is a level, frankly, greater than than virtually any other country. So I look forward as Nortel is getting healthier for us to become even more active participants, working again with the other companies, with the government, and with the universities to really drive Canada to a whole new level. This competition, i.e. other countries, are certainly not standing still. And let me just wrap up with a few comments on education, aspirations for our kids, the future leaders of the world, and also for tools. I mean, you probably know that today's generation of teens has been called as the connectors, or super connectors, excuse me. These young people don't view technology as technology, but they view technology simply as an extension of their voice and their ability to communicate on their terms. I have 3 sons, all of them are age 21, and I know what it is: instant, personal, and always available. As all of you parents, and I know there's lots of parents in this room, know that these kids who have technology as part of their DNA, who have trouble engaging and learning without the right tools. We have a tremendous program at Nortel, which will be increasing our funding, part of our commitment to become much more involved in our communities. It's called Learn It, and that helps bring this technology to more and more kids every day. It supplies educators in development of new and exciting ways to integrate the latest technologies to the teaching process to help connect students with the power of 21st century learning. It really helps prepare the innovators and leaders, our kids, people who run our countries, in the governments, and in the businesses in the future. So before the Q&A, I will ask for this video to play. It's about 2 minutes. And again, it's great to be here. I look forward to a robust Q&A session. Thank you very much. Can we have the video, please?
Hello, I'm a high school student in a typical technology classroom, which begs the question, what kind of curriculum do they teach in a class like this? And how do you train the teachers and students to get the maximum benefit out of it? I'd like to tell you about a nonprofit organization that addresses these needs. It's called Nortel Learn It, and it's important to Nortel community relations. Nortel Learn It helps teachers succeed using technology in our classroom.
That's what I love about Nortel Learn It, is because it's so user-friendly, and you get right on there, and those tutorials are so explicit, and it shows you exactly how to navigate through the site so you can be successful, and your students can also look at those tutorials, and they're successful as well.
The reason other schools will find Nortel Learn It useful is it's free sharing of educational content from teachers and students to teachers and students. Can't beat that. Free and good.
Nortel Learn It is more than just teaching us technology, but more importantly, it shows us how to apply technology to all subjects.
The spider quickly moves from link to link, searching for sites that match your search criteria. Let's go ahead and open EarthView. Ready to get PowerPointing?
Nortel Learn It is about helping others apply technology to their everyday lives.
I think Learn It, affords such an incredible opportunity for students, whether they're in high school or college, to really practice the art of translating what is a complex topic area, right? But making it real, making it relevant, and frankly getting people jazzed about it, because if they are, they'll embrace it, they'll take to it more. In my case, hopefully they'll buy more.
But you know what? Nortel Learn It needs you. We need you to help others discover and use Nortel Learn It.
Nortel Learn It really inspires me with technology. You can share it with your friends, and I'm pretty sure they'll like it too.
We need you to introduce Nortel Learn It to other students in your community. We need you to show how easy it is to use. But most of all, we need you to embrace Nortel Learn It as your offering to your community.
Hopefully you enjoy that. The whole video is prepared proactively by kids in a high school out of Virginia, just outside Washington, D.C. And as I said, great to be here. I guess I'm formally supposed to be sitting down right now, and so there's lots of questions. And I look forward to answering as many of those as possible. If there's any additional questions or suggestions, my email is mikez@nortel.com. By all means, write to me, and I'll try to respond to some additional ones. Thank you very much.